So we are here with, introduce yourself.
I'm Kekes, from the bass player from Damien.
And
I'm Troy Moore, the lead singer from Damien.
Okay, so when did Damien first form?
Basically right around 1979, 1980. And they started out playing in clubs. There was an original formation, and then there's a slight personnel change, and what's known as Damien now was about 1981, 82. And we've had some changes along that time, but basically we're down to the...
So when you formed, what goals did you have in mind?
Really just to be like the next Black Sabbath or next Judas Priest or something, just the next big metal band. We were all young kids dreaming like, you know.
Yep. How long did it take you to get a record out, and what was the process like back then?
The first record, well, that kind of brings up the first record,
yep,
St.
right
Clair
there.
tapes. We went into we played in an old warehouse down in Toledo, and we rehearsed in that warehouse, and we recorded this album actually in that warehouse, and it was meant originally as just for us as a recording to hear ourselves, what we sounded like. So we recorded all of our originals, and then we put the tape on a shelf for 30 years. But we started out then, and we got our first record deal back about well, we played around town and in the region for about 6-7 years. We got our first record deal about in 1988, and his first record, Every Dog Has Its Day, came out in 1989.
Yeah.
And that was recorded in Toledo, and then we went to New York City and mixed it. And we signed that with Select Records, which was originally a label out of New York City. And so they put the first one out, and we did a video for it, for the song Every Dog Has Its Day. And then after that, we released Stop This War.
Mm-hmm. And basically getting back to the first official album, how did it do for you?
Say that again.
How did it do for you? Like, what kind of recognition did you get out of this record?
Well, it was hard to tell at the time because
those were MTV years too.
We did MTV, and we had a video out there, and the album was doing pretty well, and it was getting overseas distribution. But like a lot of bands, our label didn't necessarily tell us a lot of what was going on. Mm-hmm. So it did well for us. So it opened a lot of doors. We had the first video, Every Dog Has Its Day, and I mean, yeah, it really opened a lot of doors for us. So we'll be forever grateful that that label put the first record out, for sure. So it did well, and it's set up for us to do the second
one.
The second one. And
Stop This War.
Stop This War.
Yep.
So that came out. We did another video. It's still on Select Records. Mm-hmm. We did another video. Got good rotation on MTV again, thankfully. And at that point, we started having some hard times and some turbulence, I guess you'd say.
Yeah.
I think it's just the genres of music, I think at that point, were changing. And the Kurt Cobain and all that sort of thing with the grunge scene kind of took over, and it went from kind of a metal-esque ruling situation to more of a grunge ruling, which was entirely stripped down music in an entirely different genre. And so that put the screws to a lot of different huge, way larger than Damien ever was bands as well. So it was a difficult time for everybody.
Now, with 2 records under your belt, were you guys able to do any tours at that time?
Say that again.
Were you able to do any tours with the first 2 albums?
We was doing sporadic stuff, but the label that we were on didn't really give us a lot of tour support or anything. So it was really a lot of us on our own trying to, dig out shows. And even though we had the MTV rotation and stuff, it was hard to get gigs. Yeah. And we didn't have label backing on touring, and didn't have a good agent for a long time. So, and we were operating out of Toledo, Ohio, which wasn't like a hotbed of bands coming out of there. But so all that kind of worked against us.
Mm-hmm. But despite of it all, the band went on.
Yes, absolutely did,
Yeah.
and from there brought us to the next record. But like you say, we had some turbulence and stuff, and then Troy came along.
Right, and that was back in 1990, around 90 maybe?
Yeah.
Around 89, 90, and so I got the wonderful years. As it would be said, it was a little more difficult at that time, but you know, my heart was in it, and that's what I grew up with, and we decided that we were going to go ahead and we were going to do some demos, and so we were recording a bunch of demo work for a new album with me singing because Randy had left, and so in the process we were able to do all the different songs that were on Candle of Life, but what is the funniest part of that story is that I actually recorded those songs on that CD in my basement. At the time I had a recording studio, so it was all done in-house on our own budget with our own gear, and bottom line, we went to New York City, met with Select, and at the time, quite honestly, their priority was Jerky Boys and Kid and Play. So that was genres which were more, seemed to be on the radar at that time. So those demos, we released them on a very limited basis at shows and at the local music stores only, with local distribution. And somehow, all these years later, and was it last year or the year before, like 2019, 2020?
Yeah.
Around 2019, 2020, we got a call from Lost Rome wondering about those particular demos that had never officially been released, and we didn't even...
And that became
Candle of Life.
Candle of Life.
And so it was odd. I had to look in my files and in my drawers and dig out old masters and try to get a representation of what they were and reaffiliate myself, even what it was. I couldn't remember. And so it's funny how that happened, and it was funny to me, and I think the guys, it was a pleasant surprise to hear that there was still interest in that material. And so that was kind of a Cinderella type story, if it would be said, you know, kind of interesting.
That's a great story,
Yes.
and the interest continues, so let's get on with the show. What's next?
Absolutely.
Yep.
After that, and then at that time, being a little more, I did turbulence, whatever, in the band, and our drummer left, our rhythm guitar player originally left, and then Troy ended up leaving. So we were in a bad situation and became worse. And that ended up becoming our next album. We ended up with a singer named Scott Miller, and we ended up releasing this album, Angel Juice.
Yes, there it is.
Which in a lot of ways is our probably most obscure record. And
What makes it obscure? What makes it obscure?
well, we were again on our own distribution. We didn't have a label at that time. We were distributing it ourselves. Like Troy said, metal had really fallen out of favor, maybe even more so by then. And just everything was working against us. And then even within the band, within this lineup, we had issues, and everything from typical rock and roll issues to to personnel issues to everything.
Yeah.
we were about the lowest point we could possibly reach, you know. And but we plugged on, and then this lineup kind of fell apart, and we ended up back at this one.
Beyond Apathy.
Beyond Apathy, which was another record where we just kind of we were at this low point, and we brought the first lineup back together for this record, and it went well, but we didn't really do much touring or anything off of this. We've only done a few shows off of that. And this is actually a really good record, but again, it was self-distributed until Lost Realm Records picked up all these, but so at that point, once again, in the long storied history of Damien, once
Comes
again,
around, goes around.
yeah, we had more turbulence and trouble, and the good point was, at this point, Lost Realm Records out of Portugal had found us, and like Troy said, knew about everything about us and our demos and everything, and ended up re-releasing all of these records.
And so all of them are back and available.
All of them are back, all of them are available on Lost Realm Records, lostrealmrecords.com. So then, at this point, we kind of really got back to, we didn't think any of this was going to happen, and this lineup again was rough for us, whatever, but by chance, because of all this got released, I had to get in contact with Troy, because Troy owns part of this record, so to get in contact with Troy with everything that he had involved with this record and was due with it, we started talking again, and Troy was like, I just left the band I'm in, and we were like, wow, we just kind of parted ways with our
The stars aligned.
yeah,
Right.
And the timing was just right, and we kind of still had all the same ideas and some things we wanted to do, and it just kind of naturally fell in place, and so we started, jamming again. Troy was looking for something to do. We were looking for a guy that was looking for something to do, and it just all worked out naturally, and so we're back with a very comfortable lineup, and here's where we are now doing the Blades of Steel.
Troy, what does it feel to be back for a second round?
It feels good, I mean, I kind of never left. I've got this something wrong inside of my head where I continue to do music no matter what. So all these years, whether we were together or not, I was doing music. So I've always had it, and is a part of my life, and so I've never left music. But it feels good to revisit this genre, and honestly, it's what I kind of was raised on and what I cut my teeth on, and so it's honestly what I probably sing the best, than the other genres, and I've done just about every genre out there. But I really welcomed all the other music and all the different cover bands and all the different things that I've done in other regards, just for time on stage and time on instrument, and just great friendships and great musicians that I've had the opportunity to jam with over the years. There's been some phenomenal musicians, and these guys, obviously, Chuck Stoll, Kevin Kekes, and Johnny Capoletti, phenomenal musicians, I mean, top of the line. So it feels really nice to be able to jam with them, and it makes me work harder, which is always a good thing for me, because I'm kind of one of those pressure guys, so that really does help me as well. So it works out really well, I think.
Finally, what's next for Damien at this point? What's next, recording-wise, show-wise, anything-wise?
Well, we want to get a new record out, so our label already backs us on that idea. We have a ton of material. We're going to play a new song tonight, brand new tune, and so we're going to put out another record. That's one of our main priorities, and to play some live shows. We've been off for a while because of the whole COVID thing, so we're going to play some live stuff as much as possible, get ourselves back out in the public eye, put out some new material, and keep plugging away. We want to thank our label, Lost Realm Records, that has been phenomenal for us, put out all this stuff and helped us really get back on our feet, get our market back, and lostrealmrecords.com, and this is where we're at.
Excellent. Thank you.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.